Hi everyone, here is my video on Lightning Network, what and why. Been hearing about it a lot in the press. People say, oh, layer 2 Lightning Network, it's going to solve everything in regards to Bitcoin scaling. Are these people that bad at math? Have they never bothered to do the math? Do they just not care? Is it part of a government, attempt to subvert cryptocurrency adoption around the world? I don't know. But I've taken the time to do the numbers for you all, so you can figure out, is Lightning Network the way to scale cryptocurrency so the entire world can use it? Pretty clearly not, but I'll give you the hard numbers. Got a bunch of tabs here. I think I'm going to go in order, but anyhow, let's take a look here. Here's a nice little website that's talking about the number of Lightning Network nodes, number of channels, number of Bitcoin locked up in the Lightning Network. You can see there's just under 5,000 Lightning Network nodes across the world, around 500 Bitcoin total locked up. Here's the top stores and services. You can buy cell phone stuff, you can buy stickers. No idea what Hodl Monkey is. I'm guessing Torguard is a VPN service. Living Room of Satoshi, I think, is a bill pay service. Last node updates, blah, 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 blah. Here's the more interesting thing, though. lnbig.com, these are the top capacity nodes. So lnbig.com has 28 Bitcoin worth over $108,000, or 5.5% of the total Lightning Network capacity is on this lnbig.com node. What's this? lnbig.com node number 2 also has 5.5%. 3, also 5%, right? Satoshi Labs. They've been around the space a long time. Great job, Satoshi Labs. They make the Trezor. They have a mining pool, all sorts of stuff. Anyhow, another lnbig.com, 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 lnbig.com. They have a bunch of nodes. And if you look at it all here, 5%, 5%, 5%, 3.3%, 3.3%, 3.3%, 3.3%. And if you look at it, and if you look at their website, I didn't go into deep details, but it looks like about half, certainly more than 25%, of the total Lightning Network capacity is all run by this one entity, lnbig.com. Anyhow, you can see they have the number of channels open per thing, 138 channels, 162, 144, 145, blah, 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 blah. They have a website that makes it easy to connect to their Lightning nodes. Anyhow, some stuff's definitely happening. I think that's a pretty interesting number. 4,796 Lightning nodes out there. That means that 4,796 people are able to use the Lightning Network without having to trust somebody else to do it for them. Is this the scaling solution for the whole world to be able to use Bitcoin? Pretty clearly not. So here's some interesting numbers, right? So this is the BTC, right? So I made two spreadsheets, one for Lightning Network and one for big block onboarding, right? So the goal is to make, or at least I think the goal with cryptocurrency is to make a peer-to-peer electronic cash system for the entire world. So I made this chart comparing off-chain scaling versus on-chain scaling. So we have off-chain scaling is this first thing. So we have the BTC maximum block size or block weight, depending on how you measure it at the moment, is about 4 megabytes there if you include all the segregated witness data. And I'm being really, really generous on that front. The next number we have here is the maximum number of transactions per block is about 8,000 transactions per block. And that's being super, 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 super generous here. So this is a steel man argument rather than a straw man argument. So I'm giving the most generous assumptions possible in favor of BTC on this. And of course, 144 blocks per day, 52,000 some change blocks per year. So with 8,000 transactions per block, that means the maximum number of on-chain transactions per year we can have is 420 million on-chain transactions. And if you consider that it requires a minimum of 2 transactions to join the Lightning Network, one to receive some Bitcoin, because if you don't have any, you can't join the Lightning Network, and then one more to open the channel. So an absolute minimum of 2 transactions to join the Lightning Network. That means the maximum number of people who can join the Lightning Network each year is 210 million people. And if we assume a world population of 10 billion people, which is coming very, very soon here, that means it'll take 47.6 years to onboard the entire world onto the Lightning Network. Almost 5 decades to bring the entire world on board Lightning Network. Do you want to wait 5 decades for the entire world to be able to use Lightning Network? No, of course not. So but you hear all the people say all the time, oh, on-chain scaling is not a long-term scaling solution. Yes, it is. I'm just stunned every time I hear people say that on-chain scaling is not a long-term solution. It absolutely is. Have these people not heard of Moore's Law? Or were they born yesterday and they haven't seen computers get faster and bigger and cheaper year after year, decade after decade? Maybe they just haven't been paying attention. I don't know. So anyhow, we can see with the absolute most generous assumptions ever in favor of BTC and Lightning Network, it would take 47.6 years, almost 5 decades, to onboard everybody onto the Lightning Network. And that's if all on-chain transactions on the Bitcoin network completely stop. Not a single on-chain transaction is happening for actual payments. The only transactions that are happening on-chain are for opening Lightning Network nodes. So no more, no more BitPay, no more paying for anything with BTC directly on-chain at all. It's going to take almost 5 decades if it's not a single additional commercial transaction happening on the Bitcoin network, and the only transactions happening are people opening their Lightning Network nodes. So no more deposits or withdrawals from exchanges, no more buying things, no more anything at all, only opening Lightning Network nodes. It's going to take almost 5 decades. So that brings us to on-chain scaling, right? So we have similar set of things here. So we say today's maximum block size on the BCH network is 32 megabytes. And we see the maximum number of transactions per megabyte is 2,500 there. The required block size to meet world demand, we can skip that for the moment, right? So we can say blocks per day, 144 blocks per day, same as BTC, right? 1 block every 10 minutes. Here's the big assumptions that we plugged in here, though. So we say that there's 10 billion people on Earth, the same number of people we assumed for the BTC network there, and we assume 50 transactions per day. So you have 10 billion people, 50 transactions per day. That equals 500 billion transactions per day required for the entire world, right? So required on-chain transactions per day, 500 billion transactions. So if we start with 32 megabyte blocks today, assuming 2,500 transactions per megabyte in those blocks, and a rate of progress thanks to Moore's Law per year of only 1.5x per year, is going to take us 38.6 years to be able to service the entire world on-chain. So compare that again with BTC, with Lightning Network, 38.6 years versus 47.6 years, where every single actual commercial transaction has to stop on the BTC network between now and the next 47.6 years in order to onboard everybody for Lightning Network. And it's actually much, 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 much worse than this. Let's say all these people want to be able to close one of their Lightning networks at some point. So instead of this being 3, minimum of 3, change that to, 2, being a minimum of 2 transactions per person. Let's say we change that to 3 transactions on chain because they want to close their Lightning Network channel at some point and maybe open a new one. So if you change that to 3, we're looking at 71 years. 71 years, right? And that's without a single other transaction happening for commerce like on-chain. It's only people opening and closing their Lightning networks. And this number is overly optimistic as well, of 8,000 transactions per block. If we look, we have the most recent stuff from just a couple of days ago. I'm filming this the day after Christmas, so we had to go back a couple of days ago to see when the blocks were full on December 18th of this year. And we can see that when the blocks, 4 megabyte block weight all the way down here, and the number of transactions per block, 1,500, 2,200, 1,300, 1,700, right? 2,200, 3,000, 2,000, 2,600, 2,700, 3,300, right? So all these blocks are full, and you can see the average size per block, right? It's not 8,000, right? I think even 3,000 is being pretty generous. So let's say we go back here and we plug in 3,000 transactions per block, which is being generous to where we're at. We're looking at 190 years to onboard everybody onto the Lightning Network in the world. In 190 years. Do you want to wait 190 years this is a bit more realistic as to where we're looking at. And remember, it's not just 190 years, it's 190 years if all other on-chain transactions for commerce, deposits to exchanges, withdrawals like buying and selling things, if all of that comes to a complete halt on the BTC network, we're looking at it, we're looking at over 190, we're looking at almost 2 centuries to onboard everybody onto the Lightning Network. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. And yet people are claiming that Lightning Network is the solution, the scaling solution for Bitcoin. No, it's Moore's Law taking its course, right? And so like, here you have it right here. Like, looking at a couple of decades for the entire world to be able to do 50 transactions on chain every single day just by allowing Moore's Law to run its course. So like these people that are saying like Lightning Network is the solution to scaling, have they not done the numbers? Are they not paying attention? Did they just, get fooled by all the censorship and propaganda happening within the BTC community? Scaling on chain is a much, much faster solution to Bitcoin being money for the world, peer-to-peer cash for the entire world. Here's the numbers. You're looking at a couple decades versus a couple centuries, right? And this is this might even wind up being 1.6, right? So like you're looking at like 3 decades, a little over 3 decades. And this, Schnorr signatures are coming to Bitcoin Cash, it looks like, as well. That helps this as well. And even if you make this 4,000, which is higher than I think any other one we saw, we're still looking at 150 years for everybody to be able to join the Lightning Network. This is just insane. Here we go. If we bump this to maybe 3,000 transactions per 1 megabyte, where are we at? So maybe I needed to, yeah. Looks like I needed to adjust my spreadsheet a little bit more to have the numbers update automatically for this particular variable. But I'll make this whole spreadsheet available for anybody to download too if other people want to play around with it and see where we're at on all this. So I thought I double checked everything before I went to make the video, but that's okay. Anyhow, pretty easy to see with like very, very conservative numbers for Bitcoin Cash, right? Super conservative numbers here. And even for people, if you say, oh, wait a minute, no, you don't have 32 megabyte blocks today, you have 2 megabyte blocks today. Okay, you're looking at 45 years. That's still less than best case scenario for Lightning Network, where nobody's allowed to use Bitcoin in the meantime. And the blocks aren't 2 megabyte today. Like the network's handling, it's easily handling 20 megabyte blocks right now today, right? So like, no problem at all, right? And 32 megabytes, no problem. It doesn't change it very much at all, right? That's Moore's Law. And then I have this thing they're talking about the difference between Nielsen's Law of internet bandwidth and Moore's Law. So like basically, users' bandwidth grows by 50% per year, 10% less than Moore's Law for computer speed. And this website here, here's the URL, has data from 1983 to 2018, and you can see it's right there in line. So I suspect that's a bigger data set than many of the people that'll be watching this video than the time that they've been alive. So this assumption of 1.5 times growth per year in internet connectivity, which is the bottleneck for scaling. It's not hard drive space, it's not other stuff. You're looking at less than 4 decades, whereas on Bitcoin Lightning Network, you're looking at over 100 years likely. And even if we set all this back to these super conservative things, open a Lightning Network and close it, 3 transactions, you're looking at 71 years. And even if they never, ever close the transaction ever, you're still looking at 47 years. And that's, remember, like I have to say this over and over because it's so important, that's assuming all other commerce on the BTC network completely stopped. There's absolutely nothing else happening on the BTC network other than people opening Lightning Network node connections. Like, that's it. So no other commerce whatsoever. You're looking at almost 5 decades, whereas in Bitcoin Cash, you're looking at less than 4 decades. And all the commerce gets to keep on going full speed ahead all day, every day. So I guess a couple other things I want to cover here too. You can see number of nodes. Oh, there's almost 5,000 nodes, Lightning Network nodes there in the entire world. And this is, consistently, oh, I know what else I want to talk about in here. So we say, Here's the latest channel updates, latest node updates. Here's most connected nodes. And age, I assume, means a number of days here. People have consistently been saying that, oh, Lightning Network is 18 months away. 18 months away, 18 months away. This is what? That's like more than double, right? So this is more than 36 months away. This is, 18 months away. They've been saying that forever. They're going to continue to say that forever. Look at all these are way more than 18 months. Been around for a long, long time. So I'd like to point out, so less than 5,000 people in the entire world using Lightning Network. Bitcoin.com, we had more than 5,000 new Bitcoin Cash wallets every single day. And so I loaded up this page just a few minutes ago, right before I started recording the video. It looks like we're 15 minutes into the video here, 16 minutes into the video. So in 16 minutes, right, we had 6,206 wallets created. We'll refresh this. 6,000, it was 6,206, now 6,200. So we added like, what, 50, over 50 wallets there, right? So even more than 50. It's the end of my day, I'm a little tired. Anyhow, we had more Bitcoin Cash users in a single day on Bitcoin.com than the Lightning Network has added ever in the entire history of the Lightning Network. And I want to show you another thing that's not possible. So here, we're going to make a Bitcoin Cash paper wallet. Here's how easy it is to onboard somebody to Bitcoin Cash, right? Here's why we're adding more users in a single day on Bitcoin Cash than the Lightning Network has added ever. All right, let's pick a design here. So everybody on every side of the scaling debate loves Dorian, so we'll choose good old Dorian here. So here's the private key. Here's the public address. So before this video goes on YouTube, I will send some funds to good old Dorian's face here. And the very first person that watches this video with their Bitcoin.com wallet or any other wallet that can scan a private key will get, I don't know, how much should I send here? I'll send $100 worth of Bitcoin Cash. It's the very first person that scans that'll get $100 in Bitcoin Cash. But also, remember, most of the time when you try and send a whole $100 worth of BTC on the Lightning Network, it fails like a large percentage of the time. And the more money you try and send to Lightning Network, the higher the chance of that network payment completely failing. That's why the thing that you see happening the most on Lightning Network are like little penny transactions or a couple dollars at most, because when you try and pay much more than that, the transactions fail a large percentage of the time. Well, I have news for anybody that's trying to use something in commerce. Financial transactions have to be incredibly reliable. They have to work all the time, every time, reliably. If it fails even 3% of the time, that's absolutely unacceptable. No business is going to use that because you can't. Like, financial transactions have to work all the time. So anyhow, I'll send $100 to that. In fact, here, why don't we do that right now while we're all here together. So I'll show you how easy it is, right? So I have my iPhone here, my Bitcoin.com wallet's opening. So here we go. We're sending $100 there. People say, oh, just use Lightning. Well, there's no Lightning wallets for my iPhone. When there are, I'll gladly do a review of it and show how easy it is to use that one. So here, $100 on the way. Had to change. I just sent someone in Russia who had never used Bitcoin Cash before. I sent them some rubles maybe half an hour ago or an hour ago. It was so easy. So there's my transaction. Boom, sent. Just like that. Just like that. So already there on the public key there. So first person that scans it gets $100. I'll provide a link for you guys to download this spreadsheet so you guys can play with it as well. It's just mind-boggling to me that people think Lightning Network is a solution. You're looking at decades and decades and decades to onboard the world onto Lightning Network if all other transactions grind to a complete stop on the BTC network. So that's why I'm still much, much, much more bullish on Bitcoin Cash than I am on BTC. The main thing, like my biggest fear for Bitcoin Cash is if the BTC economically ignorant people stop imposing their production quota on the amount of block space that the miners produce. But they've dug their heels in so deep, I don't think they can. Oh, you know what? While we're at it, one more thing I want to do. What was it? I can't remember the name of the company there. So, but anyhow, Tim Draper. Tim Draper just, he invested at 1.25 million in a new payment processor. So thank you, CoinDesk. OpenNode, and if you go and look at OpenNode, here's their OpenNode. Anyhow, OpenNode is the easiest way to accept Bitcoin, discover new ways to monetize, blah, 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 blah. Charges less than a penny. Upgrade to Lightning. So here is OpenNode focusing on Lightning. Payments that power every application, blah, 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 blah. Lightning, Lightning, Lightning. I don't want to be on the opposite side of an investment from Tim Draper. He's one of the smartest, best investors in the entire world. But I think Tim probably hasn't looked at the math of this. Are you willing to wait decades to onboard people onto Lightning Network? You're making a mistake in doing that. So, and I need to point out to people, Lightning Network works and will work far, 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 far better on a system that doesn't have a limit to the size of the blocks like Bitcoin Cash than it will on BTC. So I have an offer for the OpenNode team and Tim Draper. So Tim Draper, you invested $1.25 million into OpenNode, a Bitcoin-only payments processing startup. Well, Tim, I'm offering to match your $1.25 million investment in OpenNode with no strings attached, equity-wise. I don't need one share whatsoever. All I require is OpenNode. You guys start actually working on a payment processing for Bitcoin Cash, the version of Bitcoin that has the most Bitcoinness about it, as I've outlined in another video. So I'll give you guys $1.25 million. All you have to do is build your platform on Bitcoin Cash, the version of Bitcoin that can actually scale to be money for the world much, much, much faster than BTC can, right? We're talking about 30-something years versus, in reality, we're looking at probably over 100 years for BTC to be able to service the world, right? Like 150 years, right? Versus less than 50 years. So Tim Draper, I'll match your investment in OpenNode. Don't have to give me any equity whatsoever. You just have to start building on the cryptocurrency that actually has the ability to become money for the world in a reasonable number of decades rather than waiting a century plus. So that's my offer for OpenNode. Tim Draper, please take a look at my spreadsheet. Do the math for yourself. Like, BTC cannot become money for the world in a reasonable amount of time with the block size limited to 1 megabyte with a 4 megabyte block weight with the SegWit thing. Like, even with Schnorr signatures and these other efficiencies being added, you're still looking at far more time for BTC to be able to become money for the world than you are with Bitcoin Cash, thanks to Moore's Law. So I think that's it for my video today, and that's it. Yeah. If you like this video, share it with a friend, share it with a Lightning Network supporter, share it with a core supporter. This sort of video is banned from our Bitcoin because they don't want people to be able to actually discuss ideas and present facts and reason and logic and evidence for that sort of thing. So please take a look and share it with a friend and go from there. So the entire world's adoption of cryptocurrency has been delayed by years and years, if not decades, because of the censorship and the propaganda and the block size limit on BTC. What an incredibly frustrating thing to have had happen. So tell a friend. Thank you all. See you next time.